Hi friends, my name is Watetu and I am a student at the University of Nairobi. And they oftenly say that life is in the mind. Therefore, how we think, how we do life, how we reason, and how we basically do our things on daily basis depends on our state of the mind. And therefore, when the mind is in the right state, we are likely to do things the right way. And this is the reason why we dive into the University of Nairobi to look at the state of minds of the students, even as we get to look at the going on mental crisis amongst the university students. Therefore, our topic will be on sustaining mental health amongst the university students. We shall therefore dive to get to know what are the triggers, what are the things that the students are going through, what are the possible things that are making them go through this kind of mental health issues. Are there factors from the government level? Are there factors from the school level? Are there factors from family levels? Are there factors from their peers within them? Therefore, these are the things that we shall clearly check in to ensure that we get to realize, and then therefore what will needed to be done so that the students are able to maintain and sustain their mental health. We therefore dive to get to hear the comments from the students, comments from the advocates of mental health, and from many other people who are into this to get to ensure that the students are doing well. Therefore, follow us closely as we take you through the mental health crisis at the University of Nairobi.
I am here today with Celestine Livuza, a researcher and a mental health advocate who will be talking to us about mental health and some of the things that accelerate mental health and how people can find help once they have identified that they have issues. So Celestine, what is mental health according to you?
According to me, mental health is that emotional state and state of mind whereby someone is able to be sober and be able to make rational decisions, be able to make upright decisions, and be able just to interact and exist in the society normally and just without any limits. That is how I understand it.
Okay, so in your line of work, you've worked with young people.
Yes.
How can someone know that they have issues with their mental health? What are some of the symptoms?
Okay, there are various symptoms and red flags that will show when someone is going through a mental health issue. And one of them, you find that in terms of the behavior of a person, it will really show how, if this person is, let's say, going through a situation. And one major sign or symptom is a situation whereby a behavior of a person changes abruptly. Someone, let's say, was very extroverted, very jovial, very outgoing, but in just a period of time, let's say a week or a month, you find that this person decides to start withdrawing, starts to exclude himself, and starts to really have that moment or that time that he really wants to be alone. He now starts to neglect friendships, and even, well, let's say if the person is in class, he will really want to stay alone. And even in some cases, the person will really start avoiding missing classes, and the person will just develop some privacy, which is unusual. So that one is the major symptom that a person is going through a mental health issue. Another one, it's through social media. So you may find that a person was, let's say, he was just upright and he was focused, he knew what he was doing, and just in a span of a moment, you find that whatever he's posting, let's say he may be posting something that is kinda just not usual of him. And due to that, you'll find that it will be showing that this person may be going through a mental health issue. So the signs vary from person to person and also from gender. I know that girls, the way their symptoms will exhibit or will manifest, it will be different with the way the men or the boys, the way their symptoms will also manifest in terms of the mental health issues.
Okay, Steven, my opinion, what I know about mental health among the students is that it's a major challenge among the students. Mental health may arise from issues like financial instabilities, instances like when you have to cover a lot of content for exams, maybe for cards, and other issues comes because of things like love when maybe the person you love so much is not into you anymore. So I know of myself. For example, myself, I've been into that for many times, including those issues of studies and maybe issues of love and many other things around the school.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Wanyeki. I am a final year student at the University of Nairobi. And I am quite aware that there is a huge crisis with mental health among young people, and I'll touch on the University of Nairobi. So people cope in different ways because mental health affects people in different ways. Some students tend to go to the physical side, like going to the gym or joining a sport. Other students tend to cope by just being alone. I should also touch on the crisis of people tending to be loners and being all up with their devices, shunning away from society. That's a way in which most students cope. Also, people getting into drugs, bad habits like violence, can be physical, can be verbal violence. So that's how most people, especially young people, tend to cope. But what I will say is like 90% of students will cope by just shunning away from society. That's not talking about it. Yeah, that's a huge crisis. People not talking about what is affecting them.
And on the infographic above, the data gets to show that from first year to fifth year, the mental health crisis gets to increase. It affects more a fifth year student as compared to a first year student. And possibly the factors to be considered as those that are shown in the pie chart above, that there could be a possibility of factors from childhood trauma, poverty, peer pressure, drug and substance abuse, academics pressure, and class, students wanting to be in a class that they don't belong into, and this leads them to want to do things that are beyond them. And the statistic shows that 1 out of every 5 students is probably undergoing mental health crisis. And so this bar really shows that over the years it looks like it is accumulating, and therefore as the student gets to stay more in the university, they become a subject to mental health crisis as they keep going from first year to fifth year. One of the stresses that affects the University of Nairobi students is the stress of pressure to actually perform in the academics field. And this pressure comes from the parents, it also comes from their lecturers, and it also comes from their friends. Remember, these students came from a certain social circle from their high schools, and when they came to the University of Nairobi, they were actually needed to perform in a certain way. And this led them to want to actually give results. Sometimes this has been a pressure because they are needed to give much than they can actually do at any given time. And so at any given time, they end up thinking of what to do extra to do well. And this has been the reason why some of them have ended up dropping out. Some of them have ended up actually doing practices that have altered their performance, exam multi practices. And this has ended up making them miss a chance at the University of Nairobi. And this is one of the stress that end up leading students to be in a dilemma and to be stressed. And this accumulation of stress is what leads to them to be in an unstable state of mind, which now develops to depression. So academic stresses is one of the very key things that brings students down.
The conversation on mental health has been going on for a very long time. Today we get to speak with Jacobin Baraka, who was an alumni at the University of Nairobi and currently an educator and a counselor. Kindly introduce yourself.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. As you have earlier mentioned, I'm Mr. Jacobin Baraka, currently an educator in Kibra Secondary School, working with high schoolers. I'm also working in the counseling department, that is guiding and counseling the students as they progress with their secondary school education.
Kindly tell us what has been your experience working with the young people in relation to mental health.
Maybe first of all, we begin by defining the definition of mental health. That is according to World Health Organization. And the definition you get that basically is the ability to know how to deal with stress, being able to learn and work well, and importantly, being of help to the community. Working with young people is quite challenging, considering that I'm working in an environment, I'm dealing with an age group that is 14 to 18 years. These are adolescents. There are quite a number of challenges, and my environment is an informal sector, non-formal resident, that is around the slums. So these are people that 5 to 4 days they are in school, and the other days, the rest of the week, they are at home. So they are exposed to quite a number of things which generally affect their upbringing, their mental health, and their learning in general.
Thank you very much for that. We know that there's a lot that has happened so far. There are steps that have been taken towards the finding solutions to mental health. What is your take, and what more do you think will be done in relation to mental health?
Basing on my working environment, like in schools, we have a guidance counseling department, but we feel that much has not been done, considering like we have the life skill lessons, but not so much resources has been channeled. Some time back there was a discussion by the ministry to bring in the counselors, but according to me, I just think we need to empower the guidance and counseling teachers, because we are dealing with a very sensitive age group of young people. So apart from just learning, because importantly we just focus on the content, but we also need to make these people being aware of themselves, being aware of their environment. So I think there's need for much resources. But again, when you talk of mental health, it's not just about an individual. There is that child, there is also the genetic part of it, that is the biological component. We also have the society, that is the community where the individual grows from, that is the family to a large extent. We also have to look at the structural units. So I can say that in this journey of mental health, we also look at it's a communal thing in that it brings in various systems. We have the educators, that is from my position. We also have the community, that is the parents, and we also have the leadership. Currently there is issue on mental health, that is a charter on 2020, and it's talking about bringing in the leadership and governance, how it can help to address the issue of mental health. So basically we are trying to look, it's basically about the systems. These are sectors that cannot only be worked by the educators, cannot only be responded by the parents, but also the leadership in general.
Thank you very much. You've heard from Mr. Jacobin Baraka, and thank you for your time.
According to Merriam-Webster, mental health is defined as a condition of being sound mentally and emotionally. This is characterized by absence of mental illness. And we were lucky enough to actually find a group that was at the University of Nairobi to do a mental health awareness to the students, and they had a lot to share pertaining what the World Health Organization has to say concerning this issue that is currently in the country. Therefore, let's dive in and get to see exactly what they get to say.
In your work with university students, what are some of the encounters you've come across with students? What are some of the problems they've come to you with?
I'd say, first of all, the youth are very open and vocal in terms of mental health. And along my journey, in my practice, I have come across three very common aspects. And then one of them is substance use, the other is anxiety, and the other one is depression. Yeah.
So what are some of the things that cause this kind of issues in students? Is it financial strain, academic pressure? Give us a perspective.
We can't say it's a one-size-fits-all thing, but we can say most of it is, being influenced by academic pressure, lack of jobs, financial constraints, poor coping mechanisms as, a very key factor. And sometimes even, things that a student might have gone through in their childhood. Yeah, and even things that are happening back at home.
Okay, so as a student who has identified that they have mental health issues, where do they go from there? They want to get better. Where do they go from there? Do they come to you? And also, what are some of the things they can do for themselves personally to get better?
Okay, I think before I answer you, it's good to explore how, as a student, you would be able to know you're not doing okay. And three main things that we look at: sleeping patterns, eating patterns, bowel movements. Sometimes because we are, in the age of moving around, even libido, your libido can tell you if you're not doing okay. So if you've noticed a change in your sleeping patterns, a change in your eating patterns, a change in your libido, your bowel movements, how you contribute to the society, if you notice that you are an extrovert and now you're isolating yourself, for example, that is a very good indicator that you could be going through a rough patch and you might probably need help. So to answer your question in terms of help, the government of Kenya is doing a very good job in terms of mental health care services. And in this case, I am aware that every county has a level 5 or a level 4 hospital in it. And in all those hospitals, there's a mental health unit that a student can access. But before you go there, I believe there's schools that have taken initiative to have counseling centers, peer counselors who can help the rest of the students. We also have students who've gone to an extent of hiring counselors for their own universities and colleges. So that could be the first thing to do. The second thing to do would be seeking professional help, and that's by going to the hospitals that I mentioned, or just looking for a therapist like me, and asking for help from a professional. What they can do for themselves, I'd say self-care is very important. So how you take care of yourself, sleep well, feed well, because they say the brain is the second gut. So whatever you eat also affects your mental health. So sleep well, eat well, do the things that make you happy. Charity, be it cycling, whatever makes you happy. Just do it to take care of your mental health.
Hello, my name is George Kamau Watetu, and I'm a student at the University of Nairobi, and we are currently doing a mental health, maintaining and sustaining mental health project, and I'm just here with one of the students just to get to know how have they been faring on. Would you introduce yourself and tell us that is it mental health issues? Are there things that students are going through? Are you a victim, or do you know someone who has really been going through mental health? And then maybe you'll tell us about that.
Thank you very much. My name is Raymond Masobu. I'm also a student at this university. Yeah, about mental health, I'm much aware about this because this is a great challenge in our university. Personally, even my friends, I know some friends who have been victims of this. Yeah, very many things have happened in the university. You get criminal activities. People, maybe some students also could be childhood traumas, and when they come back to the university, this thing, they still kill them deep. So it is very, very true. I know of my friends who have been this. Personally, I've never been a victim because for me, I'm always a happy person and I know how to manage this thing. Yes, thank you.
Ray, talking of happy person, we've realized that people are hiding behind the smiles, and someone could be smiling, someone could be okay, and you think they're really doing well. But some of these people have also been reported to be victims of having cases of depression, cases of mental issues. So would you really say that if someone is smiling, we should avoid and imagine that that person is well?
Thank you. So I would say it is very true that some people hide behind the smiles, but for me, I'm an extrovert, so maybe something might happen to me, and in the shortest time possible I shall have recovered and I continue with life. Because what I normally try is that most of my friends, I try also to make them like they don't be victims of mental health issues, but I've known people, but it is very, very easy to know people who hide behind the smiles. They could be having issues, and after some time, you cannot fake it for so long, it will be known.
All right, thank you so much. Maybe final question because of time. We want to ask you, now that you know these cases are there, do you know any institution in the University of Nairobi or a place that these students who are victims could actually be taken or visit for them to be helped? Maybe quickly, if you know any.
I think for me, what I know, at the University of Nairobi in a education building, I believe there is a place where students could go. Probably could be the assistant dean's office. Yes, Mr. Paul Mutune. I think through his office you could get help. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Raymond, for joining us. We will look to see you another time. Thank you so much. Mental health remains to be a world crisis, and the World Health Organization is handling it. But from our side, having interviewed students, having interviewed advocates of the mental health, having interviewed psychologists, student psychologists, from our end, this becomes our last statement. I want to say thank you to all the students who were able to actually come out and share their experiences. This shows a clear picture of where the university is as pertaining mental health crisis. And therefore, from our side, it is a wrap, but we are so grateful to everyone who came out and shared exactly to show us the state of our university and exactly where we are as pertaining mental health. Thank you so much.